పెళ్లికి బంగారానికి విడదీయలేని అనుబంధం. నా పెళ్లి ఆభరణాల విషయంలో ఒక్కొక్కరిది ఒక్క చాయిస్. మా అందరి అభిరుచులకి ఏకైక ఎంపిక మానిపల్లి జ్యువెలర్స్.
Filmmakers like Prashanth Neel and Anurag Kashyap have been wonderful mentors. Prashanth has been mentor to my son Akhil, and I know when Akhil's faced the ups and downs, like all actors do, Prashanth has been there for him and kind of pulled him out of the depth of despair and given him a lot of courage to go on. And Anurag Kashyap has done the same for Akshat.
Yeah.
So in this spirit of mentoring and giving and helping the younger generation see the future, I would love to invite Prashanth to tell us his story, because everybody sees the success of KGF and they see what you were able to achieve and this glory, but nobody knows about the journey that got you there and the failures that you faced. So over to you.
I came to the film industry on a whim and a fancy. I think like most of us do, it's just a lot of glitter, till you start realizing that this is very serious. There's today, if you ask me what goes into making films, I think there's a lot of common sense that goes into it, which you don't have initially, because it seems like an industry which is driven largely on passion, and I think there's more truth to that than just having passion. I think there's a lot of economics involved, and to see films, buy tickets, go see films, looks very, very easy from the outside, but I think knowing how, so it so happened that before I started my first movie, I made a movie called Ugrum in 2014, and before I went to shoot, I thought everybody who had made movies before were bad directors and I was just going to change everything. I took a couple of shots, and then I just wanted this movie to be watched by 10 people. So the perspective changed as you sunk deeper into this dream, into this haze. And I think more than anything else, I didn't have the right people around me. So getting into the industry without having the right people is like, filmmaking is not like tennis, where only one person is there on court and you don't really need anybody. It's like a cricket team, and you have to have all the other 10 players playing well. So I think I learned that very quickly, and yeah, that's about it to begin with.
So I was told that you stalled the film and you taught yourself to edit.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I hadn't worked under anybody. I think I did it the very wrong way, and I learned only from my own mistakes. I tell a lot of kids who want to get into cinema that they should go and work under somebody practically, not because they can learn creativity, but they can learn what not to do by watching at least 5 other directors doing it. And I learned cinema by making my own mistakes, and I scraped out of it, probably because I'm that good. But I wouldn't suggest that to everybody. I don't usually like to tell those stories because it inspires, because I sold the only piece of land that I had to make this movie. I did everything wrong in my first movie. So I didn't make money back, but I made a lot of name, which is probably half the things that you want right from making cinema, because your identity is as important as your product is. And I learned how to edit. I learned how to make better cinema with almost every day that I went to this sets, because I did not have practical knowledge of how to be on a set. I did not have leadership skills, which I learned very quickly. I understood that if I was going to make a mistake also, I don't want anybody else telling me that. I had to just believe in myself and make the movie with the greatest conviction that I have. So yeah, I learned a lot of things apart from just editing.
There were some questions that young filmmakers had for both of you, if I may refer to them. How do you cope with the self-doubt, and when things don't work out and you lose courage? How do you cope with that? And what are the guiding steps for young filmmakers on this?
I think we face self-doubt every day, especially when you're working on a project. So my go-to strategy for avoiding self-doubt, probably not the best thing to do, but is to ignore it. When you ignore your self-doubt and you just go back to the process, and I think you go back to the discipline of doing that same thing again and again and trying to get a different result or a better result, whether it's when you're writing a script or whether it's when you're shooting. You don't have that much freedom, but then when you're prepping for it, you can probably apply that. So yes, I mean, we all go through self-doubt every single day, every single hour. There are days when you're just staring at the blank piece of paper and you're doubting every single word that you've written, and you are pressing that command A and deleting all of that. So yes, I think the one thing that we do when self-doubt comes is to accept that it's going to linger on, no matter what you do, no matter how big or how small you are in that process, where you are in that journey. I think self-doubt is going to creep up no matter what. So as long as you know that it exists, and as long as you know that you can ignore it, and not just ignore it, but follow it up with the discipline of doing the process, engaging yourself in the way things need to be done and not romanticize your situation with the self-doubt, I think you can make the next step. So that's how I tackle it.
There's a lot of disparity between what we write to what we execute, because it needs about 500 people to make the movie, but only one person to sit and write it. And I go back to my first movie where I thought I was going to be making the best movie in the world. And everything started changing, shot by shot started changing. Finally, when the movie was out, I thought it was about 15% of what I'd written. So this is something that every director has to get used to. Every person who's executing a movie has to get used to the fact that he's not going to be making the exact movie that he saw in his head. So all the self-doubt that I had in my first movie helped me cope with the other three movies that I've made. Because I thought I had made the most terrible movie after I made it. And I remember I was standing under the shower several times wondering how I'm going to kill myself after the movie released. So, but when the movie came out, I realized that I had seen the movie so many times, that I have lost judgment of this movie, and probably the memory of getting the result of that first movie, it went the right way, of course. The result of that movie went the right way for me. Knowing that I did the right things, even when I had doubt, in my first movie helped me to make my other three movies without having enough doubt.
And I think it never leaves you. So even when you go back and you revisit a work, they stand out for you.
Thank you for that. In film education, you have the craft, the skills, the business sense, understanding audiences. You have a lot of culture, sensibility. There are discussions, watching films with the filmmakers and things. But the industry hires with the confidence and the grit, which is not taught in film school. And it's just a comfort zone, you know. Film school is just a comfort zone because everybody's rooting for you, everybody wants you to do well, but the real world is so different. It needs a different kind of resilience, grit and courage to face the trolls, to face the competition, to face the critics. I remember when Shiva was releasing, Shiva, the film that Nagarjuna, my husband, had acted in and produced, Annapurna Studios had produced Ram Gopal Verma's first film. And many of the producers and distributors of the time had seen it and said, Babu, oక్క రోజు ఆడతాయి ఆడుతుంది, it'll run maybe for one day. Just think that whatever money you've lost, you'll lose. But the film went on to, there's a cinema before Shiva, Telugu cinema before Shiva and Telugu cinema after Shiva. So, but at that moment, the courage and the grit that you have to have and to be able to do what you believe and what you think you are doing justice to, it takes a different kind of courage. What would you say would build that grit and courage? I see you when Akhil has a failure and I know the curtains are drawn, there's darkness, I don't see him for maybe a week. And then I'll see he's getting his car ready and he's putting stuff into his car, and I know, okay, he's going on a road trip to see Prashanth. And I know he'll come back ready to face the world. So what is it that we can do for all young people to get that grit and that courage back to remember that you can do it and go out and do it again?
I think it's a practical experience, which I mentioned before, that you have to be on sets. You have to have seen somebody else's success. You have to have seen somebody's failure. And I think that's the greatest gift that can be given to a student, especially in cinema, that he gets to be on sets where he knows the entire process of a cinema and finally sees the result of it. It's like somebody else is a lab rat for him, and he should be doing it time and time again till he understands that cinema is done in a certain way.
Salaar fans want to know that they believe that you cracked the magic combination for Salaar and KGF. There's a magic combination of being able to tell something that has immense mass appeal, yet has certain authenticity that every member of the audience connects deeply to. Of course, I'm not going to pretend I can decipher Prashanth Neel, but I've heard these young people talk. So what is it to film students that you can say to encourage artistic integrity and yet get the business right? I think that's the quest for everyone, and that's where they fail the most. Either they get carried away like Akshat and go into deep artistic expression, or they get carried away by the business and forget their storytelling integrity. So some words of experience from you.
So I made 4 movies till now. They're mass commercial movies, and they are not the movies that I usually sit and watch on television. So my taste is very different. Uh, if given a choice, I would make very different kind of movies. I'd make something like an Inception. I'd make a love story, like Hum Aapke Kaun. But the viability, the feasibility, the business, they all lie somewhere else, coming from South India. I know where the money comes from. I'm not somebody who has come over here to make a difference. I've come here to make a livelihood, bread and butter, of course, a lot of butter with my bread. And so I understand where I am right now, and I try and make movies with only one intent, and I think they teach this in many schools, business schools, consumer behavior. And I understand that pattern, and even if I'm not comfortable, that's where I said passion goes out of the window. I might not be comfortable making these movies. I probably want to make movies that I want to make, but I'll not do it right now. Because when it is only about economics for me. It's the creativity comes from basic necessities for me. I have to make a certain kind of movie. I have to make a movie for Prabhas. I have to make a movie for Yash. I have to make a movie for NTR. When I am making these movies for NTR or Prabhas or Yash, I can't make a Hum Aapke Kaun.
These are great words. I'll share this passage with you, by the way. And I'm looking forward to having you at film school and talking to the students, and I'm sure you would get energized,
Yes,
and they would be energized too. I don't know if we have time for questions from the audience, but I could ask 2 questions.
Sir, this question is, I am Ram Lingeswara KV,
Hi.
founder of Neram. This question for you, Mr. Prashanth sir. While before making the movie, when the story in the script level, that is the vision of the director. He prepares everything script level. In your vision, who you think as a hero? Is it yourself or any other person?
So it's not as innocent as just writing a story for us. The moment we start writing characters, we say, okay, Amitabh Bachchan is going to be playing this character. The hero of this movie is going to be Prabhas. And the heroine is going to be played by Deepika Padukone. I'm talking about Kalki. I don't know why I mentioned all of those names. But I'm just giving you an example. So it would have been fantastic for us not to have, and we could even sketch it out. But it happens that, it is probably the most polluted way of making, of telling stories. It's not as beautiful as we think it is from the outside. It is commercial. You go pay money, pick up popcorn, and I don't know why I'm belittling the film industry also right now, but it is very simple. We make film for the screen. It is an audio visual experience. So we do everything possible to enhance that only through audio and video. So the way we think is very different. I wish we could just make a pure story and say it the way that story is, because our stories are more beautiful than they appear on screen.
So actually, this is in the relation of what you were also talking about. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So you talked about consumer preference and economics game, and this is one of the phrase which has also been going around is that do we live in a consumer-driven economy or do we live in a production-driven economy, right? And in terms of even in media, what kind of films are being produced?
You're watching like let's say 2 films in a week, it's accounting to 3% or less than 3% of your time in a week, right? So if that is making you do something wrong, then there's something inherently wrong with you. So
Well, I did warn you that the audience are not going to be the fans you're used to seeing. They're going to be a very different audience, a very evolved audience, a very responsible audience. Thank you so much for being such a patient and encouraging audience. It has taken a lot of courage and a lot of effort to make this happen, and I want to thank Harish for not giving up on us and giving us this opportunity. But this is one of the first conversations about failure that I have been part of in film industry. Nobody likes to talk about it. Everybody's hurting too much, and everybody's in their own struggle. So thank you.